All right, so I had a viewer that in a comment asked if I could actually show where the notes are located and ways of starting to learn the notes across the fretboard. The guitar is notoriously a very difficult instrument to do this on compared to, say, a piano or something, where usually your first lesson or two you can easily name every single note, because of the piano, how it's laid out, is very repetitive, and the guitar isn't. So what we're going to do here is I'm going to quickly review you on just a little bit of music theory that'll help you do this, and then we'll take it to the fretboard, so you'll start be able to figure out your notes. Before anything though, I do want to say the number one way to get very good and just be able to spot any note and just name it wherever you want without hardly ever thinking about it anymore is to learn how to read sheet music. I know most people, guitar players these days, don't do that, but that is probably the most natural way to get very fast at it. But you know, if you apply it and if you think about the notes enough, you're going to learn it without sheet music as well. You just have to be trying to think of what these notes are that you're playing, and not just looking at tablature and going, okay, 3, 5, 7, you know, just numbering the frets. Knowing the notes that you're playing will help you so much in the long run when it comes to studying theory and studying how the guitar works. So having said that, let's talk about the notes that make up music. You may know some of this, but I'm going to go through it anyway. We have 7 natural notes in music. That's it. A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. The musical alphabet is only 7 letters long, and it goes to G. Now, if we want to be able to figure out those notes on the guitar, the best way to do it without having any actual guitar neck knowledge at all is to know how far apart each one of those letter names is. How far is the note A from the note B? How far is the note B from the note C? And so forth. Now, this is very easy to see on a piano, when you can see all the white keys of the A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. And you'll see that 2 pairs of white keys don't have a black key in between them. This is why. I'm going to find an A right here on the guitar neck. Now, an A to a B is what we call in music a whole step. Now, a whole step basically means 2 half steps. All right? The smallest interval we have in Western music is a half step. So that on a guitar is 1 fret. 1 fret up or 1 fret down. Okay? So if we have 2 half steps, that's the distance all the way up 2 frets. And of course, they call that a whole step. Now, so a whole step on the guitar is 2 frets away on the same string. Every single one of those A, B, C, D, E, F, and G natural notes, and G back to A, by the way, because the musical alphabet just keeps going around. It's kind of like a merry-go-round. Have a whole step in between them, except for 2 pairs. And that is between B and C and between E and F. There's naturally occurring only a half step. So all you have to really memorize is B and C, E and F are the half steps, and then everything else is a whole step. So we have A to B is a whole step, B to C is a half step, C to D a whole step, D to E a whole step, E to F a half step, F to G a whole step, and G back to A a whole step. All right? So knowing that, let's try to take this to the guitar neck quickly. I'm assuming you know your open strings. That's E. The 6th string is E, and then all the way going across E, A, D, G, B, E. I'm assuming if you know how to tune your guitar, you know those notes, because that's what you tune it to in standard tuning. And by the way, when I'm doing this, I'm talking about the guitar being in standard tuning. I'm going to have a tuning video if you don't know those notes, but I'm not going to concentrate on the open strings. I'm going to concentrate on the notes on the actual fretboard. Here's what you want to remember. We're going to start on this 6th string, which is probably the most important string for right now to you be able to visualize well the notes off of. And then we're going to learn how to spell our notes on this string, and then how to figure out the other notes on the guitar neck from it. So obviously that'll be kind of a thought process that has to go behind everything when you're figuring out the notes. But if you do this every day, you do little exercises like, I'm going to find all my A's and all my B's and all the C's and or whatever, you will start to get this stuff to sink in a little bit. All right? So what I'm going to do here is, and I'm going to show you you'll see that these dots, these fret markers, this is a Fender Strat, but this is what most fret dots where they're placed on most guitars. We have a fret dot at the 3rd fret, the 5th, the 7th, the 9th, and double dots at the 12th. Now that double dots basically marks where the guitar starts over an octave higher. So anything that's E, A, D, G, B, E, any of the open strings, it's the same notes at the 12th fret, E, A, D, G, B, E. All right? And then you'll notice that the fret markers after those double dots will be the same. So you almost want to think of this where the guitar starts as being the double dots, and then 3 frets after that, your first fret marker, 5, 7, 9. Then we have the double dots, then we have 3, 5, 7, 9. So anyway, we'll start by spelling the word Gabe. If you can spell the word Gabe, you can do this system. And this is just to get you started on learning notes. Gabe means on the 6th string, this note is a G. The second note, the 2nd fret marker is an A. The 3rd is a B. We're going to skip the 4th fret marker and go straight to the double dots, and that's an E. It spells the word Gabe. G-A-B-E. Now, knowing Gabe, you should be able to figure out, those are 4 of the 7 natural notes. And knowing that, you should know how to figure out the other ones. Let's say we have G here, and we want to figure out where an F is at. Well, obviously an F, since it happens first in the alphabet before G, it means it's a lower pitch. So we're going to go this way, right, to go lower in pitch. And if we remember, how far is F to G? A whole step. So that lets you know that F is 2 frets back, this time at the 1st fret. All right? If I have an E right here, the double dots, right? And I want to figure out a D. Well, D is going to come before it, so it's going to be down here, right? And D and E is another whole step. So you go 2 frets back from the double dots, and there's a D. Okay? So you may have heard of flat notes and sharp notes. What a flat looks like is a lowercase b, and what a sharp looks like is like a tic-tac-toe sound, like a number symbol. What that is, or a pound symbol on a phone. Now, what that does to a note, what a sharp does to a note, is it raises its pitch 1/2 step. So we have a G right here. A G sharp will be this space 1 fret higher. Here's A. An A sharp will be 1 fret higher because a sharp raises the note. Here's a D. Now a flat does the opposite. It lowers the note 1/2 step. So here's a D, and we're going to say, where's a D flat? Right there. 1 fret back. Okay? Here's a G. Now, what comes if we want to go, what is this note, 1/2 step back? Well, you figure it out by going, you know that a G, it can be a G flat, right? Because it's lowering the pitch. Or this is a G sharp. Now, when you're dealing with this, you're going to run into things called inharmonics. It's a big word, but basically all it means is we have one note that can be called 2 different things. And I'm going to show you how that works here. And you, depending on what you call is whatever key you're in. But say we have a G, and we make it a G sharp by raising it 1 fret. We can call that note a G sharp. But look, we have an A right here, right? Now what if we want an A flat? We have to lower it, right? It's the exact same note. So you can see that's inharmonics in action, all right? One note can be called 2 different names. And depending on the key, you know what to call it. So what you should do first, in this first video, is go up and down the string and try to figure out all your notes, all those 7 notes and their flats. Like, here's B. Well, where is C at? Well, B and C are 1/2 step apart, right? So you go up 1/2 step, and you have your C. All right? So try to do that. You know, just find a note, stick with Gabe, and try to name another note in the musical alphabet, and sometimes throw a sharp on these things and see if you can figure this out. This is just part 1 of this, and then we'll start working on how to go to different strings. All right? So stick with it. We'll see how you do. Bye-bye.